Let's start. The second part for today is measurement for the staircase finishes. This is supposed to be part of your studio number 2 and studio number 3. Okay, so let's start with the first one. I am not be able to share the PowerPoint slide because my PowerPoint slide is so big, so the blackboard is not be able to read. That's why I share with you the PDF file. I hope everyone can see, so you can also double check with your file. Okay, this is the linear outcome. The linear outcome actually similar with the previous one, but we are going to focus on the finishes, the handrailing and balustrading. The finishes will be the second one. The third one will be handrailing and balustrading. So as usual, you must be able to prepare taking off list, must be able to go through the drawing, identify the item to be measured, and of course at the end you must be able to prepare the taking off list, taking off quantities and the BQ. So the ultimate part will be the BQ. Okay, the BQ must be completed with the quantity. Start from this week, the student must be able to prepare the BQ for the for each submission. Right. Let's go to the general rule. Okay, the general rule for the staircase finishes, we can refer to section U and section S. Section S is for finishes, actual finishes, in situ finishes, and section U will be for painting. Okay, we are going to have a few items that require you to paint. We are going to have the few items that require you to do in situ finishes like screeding, plastering, and then we are going to refer to the actual clause S.5 after this. But before I go to S.5, let's go through very general clause under section S. Okay, before you start any measurement for the finishes, we need to refer to section S. Section S.1.1 refer to the classification. Okay, I would like you to take note on this because sometimes when you handle the project, you have to check whether the staircase is situated or located in the internal building or outside the building. If the building is, if the staircase is external, then you have to measure separately. If the staircase is internal, you have to measure separately. But in your studio, you only have one staircase, so there will be no problem with that. Okay, this highlight is important when you need to measure the internal and external work separately. Okay, look at this example. This is the staircase for external. You cannot measure together with the staircase that is available inside this building. Maybe this is double-story building or maybe three-story building. If you have the staircase inside, do not measure the finishes, internal and external, together. That should be measured under two separate headings. Okay, look at the second one. This is also example for the external finishes. Logically, maybe because the quality is different. Outside, you need to consider more on the weatherproof. And then for internal, maybe that one is not going to be considered. So the specification will be different. Look at the third one as well. This is also to show you external finishes. Okay, external finishes for the staircase. Still under staircase finishes, but you have to separate internal and external. That is what I mean. Okay, now we also need to refer to section U. So basically for this lecture, we will refer to two main sections. One is section S, that is finishes. Another one is section U. Okay, now in general, under section U, you can see that there are four main categories. New work internally, new work externally. Again, if the work is internal external, under painting also you have to measure separately. And C and D is actually for decorating or renovation work, where you need to repaint what had been painted before. So repainting and repainting for decorative for internal and external, you have to measure separately if they are available in your project. Okay, let's say I give you one set of drawing, and then in one set of drawing you can see maybe small part here. This is the renovation part. So under this renovation part, if they are item for repainting, you cannot measure the bigger one and the small one together. You may need to measure the smaller one separately under repainting and decorating work. Okay, now let's move to the detail of section S. Okay, under section S, I divided into three main categories. This one is my own category in the lecture note. You may not find this category. I create this group because I would like my students to understand how the method of the construction looks like, and different group may have different ways of the construction, and different group of the work need to be carried out. Okay, so let's we look at number one. Group one is in situ finishes. Okay, in situ finishes here are referring to pebble wash finishing. This is like using the small stone, or maybe plastering, or maybe terrazzo. This is also a group of the work. Tam macadam, this is a special work that is referring to clause S.2 and S.10. Can everyone refer to S.2? What is the title? What is the title under S.2? Key, can you check what is the title under S.2? Key. And maybe what is the clause, what is the title for S.10? Li Kylie. S.2 is what? S.2, key. What is S.2? What is S.2? Oh, maybe I have to change the color. Okay, thank you, Kipeki. S.2 is in situ finishes. Okay, what about Li Kylie? What is S.10? S.10, this is different. Li Kylie or Liu Mei Xiong, what is S.10? S.10 is beds and backing. Okay, sometimes you can combine. Thank you, Liu Mei Xiong, Li Kylie as who is the other one? Kipeki. Okay, sometimes you can continue to join these two together. For example, okay, if you see the word paving in the SMF, if you see the word paving in your description or in the specification, this is referring to cement render. Cement render, let me write down. Okay, cement render doesn't have any more finishes. Okay, paving is referring to cement render. But in your description, we didn't write the word cement render. In the drawing, sometimes you can see the word cement script only or cement render only. That is paving. Okay, so this is referring to S.2, where we call this one as in situ. Cement render consists of what class? Cement plus sand plus water. So whatever you have to mix in the site, we call that one is in situ finishes. Okay, the other one, where Li Kylie highlighted S.10 as beds and backing. What is the meaning of beds? S.10. This is under beds and backing. Okay, beds is something, is the in situ finishes that you have to lay, or you have to lay on flat surfaces. There are a lot of birds around my house. Sorry, class. Laid on the flat surfaces. Okay, so S.10 laid on flat surfaces. So that's why sometimes if you're referring to S.2 and S.10, this one can actually complement each other. This one also referring to in situ finishes. Okay, but the special under S.10, you can refer to S.10.2. You have to mention to receive different material. Material must be measured separately. Okay, this is always referring to, if I highlight again, this is referring to the word script. Okay, the meaning of script is normally beds to receive actual final finishes, to receive tiles, for example. Okay, you cannot just put the tiles on the concrete surface. What you need to do is you need to have two layers. This is the tile, and the other one is, maybe I draw in yellow color. So this is your script. Okay, that is the meaning of the second one, beds and benching. Beds and backing. Okay, backing means bag of what? Okay, bag of tiles, you should have script. These two are considered as in situ finishes, so I group this one under first grouping. Do you understand, everyone? Why? Because these two normally you have to use same material. Same materials means cement. Okay, you have to use cement, you have to use sand, cement. You have to use cement, you have to use sand, but different ratio. Ratio is different. What is the meaning of ratio? Maybe cement is 1, sand is 3. Okay, cement is 1, sand is 6. Okay, for example, 1, 2, 3, this one is referring to screed. 1 to 6 is referring to plastering, okay, or paving. Okay. Okay, so normally for first grouping, I would like to highlight 3 categories. Number 1, we have 1 to 3 screed, we have 1 to 6 plastering, and we have 1 to 6 as paving. Okay, so paving is like the finishes that you can see in the parking area. Sometimes something like the composition of cement and water and sand, but it is normally shiny a bit. Okay, normally shiny a bit because they are using steel trowel, so very good surface, flat surface. Okay, but screed normally you have to use timber trowel. Normally the surface is very rough, and then screed also sometimes referring to the floating, where you have to refer to the fitted carpeting later. But for plastering, this is normally for painting. Okay, so all of these are something that you have to mix in the side, that you have to apply. So this is something that you have to write also in the description. Is it okay, Wally Kim? So please take note on these 3 categories, because I'm going to write down this one again, and I'm going to refer to this one again in our next discussion. Wally Kim, is it okay? Go Kai Ching, Irene, Alvin Mo, is it okay for these 3 categories? Okay, thank you for your response. Now let's move to the second category. We are going to go through in detail for this one, don't worry, but this is only the first overview. I would like you to see the overview that the finishes has different category. Okay, screed, plastering, paving. Screed normally to receive tiles, plastering to receive painting, but paving to receive no other finishes. This is only cement and sand, but the application is different. Now let's move to the second category. Okay, the second category, let's change the color. I use rectangular. Okay, the second category, we identify this one as final finishes. Okay, final finishes for the staircase, normally you can see at the step and the landing. At the side part, normally they are only plastering and painting. You didn't see that at the side part of the plastering is full with the tiles. Okay, normally the final finishes is only available at step and landing. So I group this one into 3 main categories that is normally available and normally apply for our staircase. We have tiles, we have also carpeting, fitted carpeting. Fitted carpeting is the carpet that you are not be able to remove. Okay, you either need to use glue or you have to either using screed. There are a few options available in the market. And the last one, we have vinyl or fitted linoleum, or maybe some people in Malay they call it tikar getah. Okay, and then nowadays a lot of vinyl also can be DIY, and this one also have been sold pieces by pieces as well. Okay, so this is under flexible sheet finishing. This is also sometimes available in the finishes near to the hardwood area, okay, near to the hard place area, workshop, and so on. Okay, so the actual clause, we are going to look at this one later, like the tiles is S.11, fitted carpeting S.34 and S.26, and you can check in your SMM the clause for the flexible sheet finishing. The famous one I highlighted here is vinyl. This is commonly used now, so this one is under S.12. Okay, the last one is painting. This is another section. We have to refer to section U, where you need to paint on the plastered surfaces. Normally, we did not paint directly on the concrete, but we paint on the plastered surfaces because the finishes for the painting required to have better finishes. Okay, they are also different kind of the brush used for the external. I put here for the external surfaces, external plastering surfaces. You can see even in Inti, if you touch the column at the external area, this is very rough. Okay, but for the internal area on the plastering, this is soft. Okay, not really rough. So the type of the brush also different. You can try to go to the hardware shop and see. They normally ask you, okay, you want to use the brush for external one or internal one? The brush for internal and external is different. So that is one of the reason why we have to measure this item separately. Okay, let's move to the first one in detail under S.5. Can everyone refer to S.5? This is under section S. Okay, we focus on section S first. General rule under S.1 we have highlighted before. So S.1 I already highlighted before. This is the main category, either internal or external category. Okay, but the actual clause for the staircase is S.5. Okay, it is stated under S.5.1. You can double check as the following. All work to staircase area shall be given separately. What is the meaning of the word separately? Anyone know? Okay, this one is actually to highlight the word staircase area. How do you know staircase area? Okay, the word staircase area here, for example, the term that we have learned before, the tread, the riser, the landing slab. Okay, what else we have? Chazian? What else we have? Chazian? Other than tread, riser, landing slab. Chazian. What are the other staircase area that you have learned in your studio number 1? Chazian. Soffit off. Soffit off, landing beam. Yes, correct. And then Draven, what else? Soffit off. Draven, what else? You have soffit off landing beam, soffit off landing, Draven chua kiting. Soffit off landing beam, soffit off landing slab. Draven, are you okay? Okay, thank you. Then we also have edges of landing slab, and we also have sides of landing beam. All of these are considered as staircase area. So when you see SMM use the word separately, you have to be careful. That means you have to measure all these items separately. Okay, so separately means tread separately, riser separately, landing slab separately, soffit of landing beam, landing slab edges, sloping staircase, all of these means separately. This is the meaning of this sentence in your SMM. Okay, the right hand side here just to show you different material that can be applied, that can be used, that you can see in the market for the staircase. Okay, you can use hardwood, plain hardwood, open grid. You can see sometimes the staircase for the riser and tread is using a steel plate. Sometimes you can see glass and so on. Okay, so this is the actual clause for staircase area again. Now let's focus on the first category that is under S.2. Okay, S.2 is referring to in situ finishing. Again, if I draw in the cross section, you can see that this is your, for example, either paving or either screed. Okay, and then on the top, you can see maybe they are tiles, maybe they are parquet. Okay, this one can be either tiles or parquet. Tiles or maybe parquet or maybe mosaic. Okay, or maybe mosaic or hardwood flooring. Okay, so this is the in situ finishes, but the one that we would like to highlight is S.2.1 or S.10. Okay, what need to be written in the description? Kind of material. Okay, kind of materials mean cement and sand. Normally in situ finishings are referring to, okay, let me write down text. Cement. So if I write next to this one, you can see cement and sand. What about the composition and mix? Okay, this is the detail. We can write down maybe ratio. Okay, 1.3 or maybe 1.6. This one, you can either refer to the specification in your construction technology notes, or else you can refer back to the specification in general that you have learned in the contract administration. Okay, so this is based on the method of application. You can see either screed or maybe paving. The The word paving normally come together with the word trowel. Trowel here means the application that normally they use steel trowel so that the surface is very flat. Okay, or if you see the word plastering, if plastering, they use the application as plasticizer. See, plasticizer. And then in terms of the thickness, okay, this thickness I would like everyone to take note. Generally, it can be 19 mm, it can be 20 mm, it also can be 25 mm. Normally, the maximum is about 25 mm. You may see this information in the right hand side of your drawing or maybe at the specification. If it is not being stated, then specification. Then you have to know that this is general information that you need to know. The number of coats, this one, if applicable. If not applicable, normally we didn't write. If applicable, especially if you use a bituminous or application that require coats. If not, I will put here NIL. Okay, so from this one, maybe I can use red. This one I put not relevant. Normally, this one also surface treatment. This is what had been stated before. Normally we write steel trowel, wood floated, polish and so on together with the method of application. Okay, and any special curing this one only, if any. If not, I will put here NR. Okay, sorry, N-R. So this is not relevant, or we can put NIL, nil. Okay, so if you combine all of these, you can get good description. You can get a good description. Now we focus on the category. I start with number 1, the first category, part 1. This is similar to the finishes for tiles and the script. So what does it mean? You can take quantity. Once you measure the script, you can take quantity to measure the tiles. For example, if you measure the thread, okay, thank you Ifan for joining us. You can take the quantity for the tiles. Once you measure the script for riser, you can take the quantity to measure for the tiles for riser. So basically, there are 3 items under group number 1. And then for the carpet, we cannot take to get a quantity. So we still have 3 main quantity. Part 3, this is for special item where you have for the nosing. If you don't have nosing, then you don't have to measure. The last one here, plastering and painting. See the grouping? Plastering is for painting. Okay, if you look at this one first category, if you need to put the tiles, you need to have the script. Okay, and then if you need to put carpet, you also need the script. But I didn't put this one together because you cannot take quantity. We will do this one, we will discuss this one in detail later. Okay, and the part 3 here again, this is for the nosing. You can see something like overhang. This is also part of the anti-slippery. And the last category is plastering and painting. So where I group all of these together, that means you can take quantity. You understand the word take quantity? You can just write down the quantity in the quantity box. So you don't have to show all of this measurement again. Okay, let's start with the detail in S.5. Okay, under S.5, can everyone refer to your SMM? Work to landing shall be so described. What does it mean? How many landing that you can see in your staircase? We have LB, landing beam. We also have a landing slab. So you have to measure the work to landing separately. This one we have discussed before. We have either soffit, we have other edges, and we have either sides of all components for the landing. Okay, item number 2, work to thread and riser shall be given in meters stating the dimension. Okay, so you have to measure thread and riser separately, but don't forget to write the dimension. The word dimension means, okay, for riser, let's say you scale, you get 230. So you have to write to riser 230 mm height. And then for example, for the thread, you get 500 mm. So you have to write down to thread 500 mm in horizontal. Okay, and then this clause also highlighted on the nosing. You have to measure as extra over. Look at this. Nosing, measure as extra over. And then the last one, the string shall be given in meter, stating the width. Okay, general rule, I can put here. I would like everyone to take note. General rule, the quantity can be taken as your form work. Okay, so when you start doing your studio this week, you can also refer back to the dimension that you have learned in the form work, provided that you consider the dimension for the brick wall that attached to it. That means if you need to measure the width of the staircase, for example, the width of the staircase, previously we count the staircase as 1.2, right? 1,200. If you see that there are brick wall on the top of the staircase, you have to consider deduction of the brick wall because the finishes is carried out after the brick wall had been finished. Okay, so you have to do deduction for the brick wall. Same goes to when you want to measure for the edges of the slab. Okay, previously you can see your slab may be like this. Sorry, I draw again. For example, this is your edges of the slab, and maybe this one is your landing beam. Previously, when you measure, let me change color. Let's say you take the dimension similar as the edges of the slab. Okay, here, this is the edges of the slab in your form work. But what you need to do is you have to deduct the size of your brick wall here because they are brick wall. So originally, you can take the dimension that you have measured in the form work, but don't forget to do deduction where they are brick wall. That is the general rule of the measurement for the staircase finishes. Okay? Okay, class, so you don't have to remeasure again and again. Now let's move to the discussion of your drawing number 3. Can all of you refer to drawing number 3? Can you refer to drawing number 3, class? Okay, what are the type of the finishes available in drawing number 3? Irene? Can you see the finishes for drawing number 3? Irene, Elvimo, and Anastasia. Can you see the one that have been highlighted? What kind of the finishes highlighted here? Can you write down again? Irene, Liu Mei Xiong, Go Kai Ching. You can either refer to this slide or you can either refer to the drawing, your own drawing. They are paquet, okay? Paquet means type of the timber. So when they are paquet means you have to install the script underneath. And the detail of the paquet also have been given here, 130 times 130 times 10 mm, 10 mm thickness. Okay, and then you can see also here the skirting, they are skirting, and the skirting is using terrazzo. So terrazzo means you need to have the finishes for the terrazzo. You also need to have the script underneath. So how many items basically available? There are 2 main items available for the paquet because you need to have script and paquet. For the skirting also you need to have terrazzo skirting and also terrazzo skirting script. Okay, and then the rest of the information in the drawing, you can see from the notes here, cement and sand 1/6. That is the ratio for the plastering shall be applied for soffit and other surfaces of the staircase. So where are the surfaces of the staircase that you have to measure? Let's say I group together again based on category. So the first item that you have to measure, basically, number 1 is riser. Okay, number 2 is tread. This is horizontal, and number 3 I highlight different color. Number 3 is your landing slab. So the first 1, 2, and 3 can be grouped under first main heading, that is your paquet. Can you see that? That is how you do your item to be measured. If I write again, you can write this one as the first category. We have cement and sand, 1, 3, script. Okay, so this is the first grouping. I put this one as the main heading. So how you want to write description, you can write down here to, riser. Then please ensure that you refer back to S.5.2. To riser, you have to write down the height, 200 mm height, HIGH. Then number 2, you can write down to thread, and then write down the size. Okay, but number 3, we don't have any sizes. Okay, to landing slab, full stop. Okay, but don't forget, in the actual description, under S.10, you have to mention cement and sanskrit to receive, pakai. To receive, pakai as described. This is only taking off this, yeah. Okay, so there are basically 3 main items to be measured based on this category. Once you have finished measuring all these items, you can continue with pakai as the main heading. Then continue item number 4. You can copy what you have measured in the first item and the second item and the third item. You can write here to screeded riser. Then number 5, copy again to, the word screeded can be similar, right? So you can write detail to thread. And then number 6, you can write down screeded as well, so you can use the word detail to landing slab. This is how you identify the item to be measured, because the first 3 components here normally having similar specification. So this is the first part of our discussion. We will go through this one in detail, but now I would like everyone to take note on how you want to identify the item to be measured based on the specification. So the rest, we can continue with the plastering, because if you refer back to the first category here, sorry, I need to zoom in. Go catching, okay? First category, okay. Number 1, we have 2 sides of the string. 2 sides of string. So string. So maybe I just put string. Okay, and then here you have number 2. 2 soffit of sloping staircase. Can you see the item are exactly similar as the formwork? Number 3, edges of the landing slab. Okay, and then here you can see they are soffit of sloping staircase, string, and then here also you have soffit of landing slab. Okay, what else we did not measure? Okay, the question is either you need to measure sides and soffit of landing beam or not. Side and soffit of landing beam. Okay, if you look at here, they are brick wall underneath. So when they are brick wall, you don't have to measure. You no need to measure, because the brick wall and the landing slab at the side of this one will be covered under wall finishes. They will do one straight measurement. Okay, if there is no there is no brick wall, then you have to measure side and soffit of landing beam. So item number 1 until number 4 that I highlighted in blue color, this one is the least for the plastering. Once you measure for the plastering, you have to measure for, once you have to measure, you can actually TQ, mean state quantity, for painting. That is how you measure the item to be measured. Okay? Okay, Ifan? Can you see that? Mama Ifan is here. Iwin is here. I actually writing, so that's why sometimes I didn't use pointer. So when you see the flow, then you can see one by one. So I repeat, yeah, for the blue color, this is for the plastering. 2 string, number 2 soffit of sloping, and number 3 edges of landing slab. And you also can see the word soffit of landing slab. If you refer to this item again, This one. These 4 items are actually the same item as you have seen for the homework. Sometimes I didn't use pointer because I would like to highlight. So you can see the one that I highlighted here. These are the items that I would like to focus. Okay, and then the other one, the side and soffit of landing beam, you don't have to measure if the side and soffit of landing beam is attached with the brick wall. Okay, we will do the detailed discussion on this one in the studio later. Okay, let's see the example for number 1. The example for number 1 is where you can see this photo. This is the photo where the worker is applying steel trowel on the surfaces of your thread and the riser. This is the thread and this is the riser. So how you want to put in the description? Okay, cement and sand paving as described. The word paving is referring to cement render. So this is also referring to the word cement render. Okay, remember the information as what I told you under S.2 just now. S.2 required you to write down cement and sand as the main category. This is cement and sand. And then after that, you have to write down the composition. After that, you have to write down the application, and then the thickness, and then the other one is the actual location, that is the thread. If you refer back to S.5, you have to write down the size. Okay, you can actually use the word detour here and then continue with the word undercut riser. Don't forget to write down the size. The answer for the measurement is similar to the answer of the from work to riser. That means the width of the staircase. In your example, the width of the staircase is 1,200. So we actually measuring from this line to this line to this line. Because you already write down the height, so how you want to measure? The numbers, you can put here the numbers of riser times width 1,200. Okay, Elvin Mo Kaiming. So this is the formula, yeah? Okay, Chachanyan, is everything okay? This is another example. Look at this example. You can see that the cement and sand had been added with the pigment. So the final layer is already covered with the cement and sand that is brownish color. Okay, you can see cement render sometimes in they already put in the pigment. Pigment means the coloring. Okay, and then this is how the dimension is. This is the application using steel trowel. The example for number 2 is also paving, but this is for the different category. This is the different example that is landing slab, but the example of the item or material are similar. Okay, look at this example. For landing slab, you have to ensure that you check the detail of the brick wall. Okay, what if there are brick wall on the top of this landing slab? You can take the dimension similar as the formwork here. This is the actual dimension for the formwork. For example, you get 1720. In our previous discussion, some of you scale you get 1680, some of you scale you get 1700 or 1720. But remember to deduct this area. You have to deduct the thickness of the brick wall. Okay, so the measurement is the length on plan times the width on plan. What I would like to highlight here is the length on plan must be here only. Please consider the deduction of the brick wall. Okay, next one is the component where you have to measure according to S.5 and also according to the item that required to be plastered and painted. Look at the way we write the description. Cement and sand, 1.16 is the ratio. Approved plasticizer, this is application to make sure that the surface is very flat. You can see here they are using steel trowel. So the surface is flat. Okay, and then the actual application is based on what we discussed before. you have to identify the thickness, 16 mm, 19 mm, 20, 25, and so on. After that, you have to write down to the location. Soffit of landing slab in meter square. The side of the open string in meter. This is under S.5.5. And then after that, soffit of sloping staircase in meter square. Landing beam in meter square. Landing slab in meter square. Okay, the rule is if the unit, if the unit is not stated in S.5, okay, I put here the unit must be in meter square. That is the basic rule. Okay, because some of you may ask me, how do you know that the landing slab is meter square? This is the general rule. Because under S.5, no information about the unit of measurement for landing slab. So we have to use back this rule. If the unit is not stated in meter square or it's not stated in S.5, you have to use you have to use the general rule is in meter square. Okay. Now, next example is for the landing beam. No measurement for the soffit of the landing beam if the wall is installed below the landing beam. There are certain situations if you see the landing beam at the school. Okay, sometimes you can see that there is no brick wall. So you have to measure the definition for the side and soffit of landing beam in meter square. The formula is exactly similar as in the formwork. Length 2.6. For example, here you get the length 2.6. Then you have to get the height here 200, this one 200, and this is another 200. Okay. I also would like to highlight for those who cannot imagine how the trowel looks like. This is how the trowel looks like. This one. This is the hog, bucket trowel, float trowel. This is a small tool, also known as trowel. Plastic float. This is normally floating or to receive the screeding. And this is how you apply. Okay. Sometimes you can see they are sharp edges. And sometimes not sharp edges. This is normally at the corner. So all of these are considered as trowel. Okay, to make sure everything is flat enough so that you can paint properly. Okay, that's one. The example of this description for the painting also have been given here. But this is the painting for the surfaces that we have discussed before. To soffit of landing beam, you don't have to show the measurement again. You can take quantity, surfaces of the open string, okay. But if you refer to the unit of measurement for the string, this is different, yeah. The script for the open string is meter. Why? This one is stated in S.5. This is stated in S.5. Okay, but in section U, there are different rules because if the curve is not exceeding 300 mm, you have to measure in meter. If the curve is more than 300 mm, you have to measure in meter square. This is the basic rule. Okay, can everyone take note on this one? This is under section U. The rest are all similar as your screeding or plastering. Now let's move to the additional item. If available, we have nosing. Okay, there are few materials that can be used for the nosing. This is the strip nosing. Use steel. This is also used steel, and then sometimes you can see here. This is how the design is. Vinyl plus aluminum strip nosing. This is how it looks like. Can you see something that is beyond a little bit? This is the example of the nosing. They purposely made to make sure that you consider this one as anti-slippery. Okay, so the nosing must be measured under S.5 in meter only. How the description looks like, this is the example. The measurement can be taken from the thread. Okay, why? You can see that it is here, then count again the numbers of the thread. Okay, since the unit is meter, so the answer is 1.2 1.2 times numbers of thread. Okay, 1.2 is the width of the case. Extra over, cement and sand paving, and then what is the actual finishes? For the nosing, we have to measure the screed and the actual material for the nosing in one description. Material in one description. You don't have to measure this item separately for the screed and the finishes. Only one item. This is mentioned in the actual clause in S.5. Okay, this is the next one. For the tiles, finishes for the tiles, we have to refer to S.11. Okay, so this is under S.11. Generally under S.11, they are information about how you want to write the description. So you can see here the kind of the tiles, for example, precast concrete tile or maybe mosaic or maybe natural stone. In our common design, normally we have ceramic tiles. Okay, you have to write down the size, you have to write down the thickness. The thickness can be 8 mm, 10 mm until 20 mm thick. Okay, this is also what you have learned in your construction technology as well. Shape is only applicable if the unit or the design is other than rectangular. If not, you don't have to write down. Nature of the surface finish, sometimes it is homogeneous, sometimes it is rough surface, sometimes it's very glossy. So that one also has to be measured, have to be stated in the description. Bedding and pointing under fixing, this is normally using white jointing, or we can use the white color cement. Okay, treatment of the joint, layout of the joint, and cover fillet. I purposely highlight this one in blue color because normally the last three items here is not available to be written unless this is really stated in the specification. If not, treatment, layout, and cover fillet, you don't have to write in the description. Focus on the one that I mentioned here in the pink color. On your right hand side, these are the example of the tiles available in the market, okay, or finishes available. And this is to review what you can see in your finishes. You can also see this one again in your construction technology lecture notes for those who don't want experience having CT class with me before, but this is just to highlight. If you have the floor slab here, or this is your staircase, you can see that this one is your screeded bed and here is your floor finishes. Okay, and then how you want to write down the description. 300 times 300, this is the size, the thickness is 50 mm. Homogeneous is the type of the tiles. Bedded or jointed, this is how you write down the jointing between each other, and you have to write down on the screeded bed. So the last sentence, I put this one to the last sentence so that you can use ditto to the thread, to the riser, and to the landing slab. In this sketch also you can see there are information about the skirting, where you have to measure the skirting separately. Okay, any question, class? I think I'm going to stop for a while. Any questions so far? Okay, now let's move to the new clause under S.26. Okay, why I would like to highlight carpeting as one of the finishes? Because I would like you to see the difference between the carpeting, final carpeting, and the screeding for the carpeting. Previously, we measured the landing in meter square. So this one you can put TQ. Okay, but look at the second one. If I highlighted again, the second one, carpeting to thread and riser shall be given in meter square stating the width. So what does it mean? You cannot take the quantity for the screeding to thread and riser if the final finishes is fitted carpeting. This is referring to fitted carpeting, means the carpet that you cannot move, the carpet that you have to install on site, where you have to install, screed and underlay as part of the layer. Okay, and then this is the example. Look at this example of the carpeting, fitted carpeting. That means when you measure for the area of this riser, you have to take the length and times with the height. So you get the area. Okay, you can only take 1.2 here, 1.2, this is 1.2, and then times with the height of your riser. If you need to measure the thread, you have to take the length and measure the horizontal width of your thread. This is the difference between carpet and the finishes for the staircase. Okay, now we refer to the review or the recap for the carpeting in terms of the method of the construction. The quantities cannot be taken from the script, as the unit for the riser, thread and landing slab must be measured in meter square. You only can take quantity for landing slab. Only landing slab you can take quantity, but riser and thread cannot. Okay, so if I put here the note only, sorry, let me change the color. Only the quantity for only the quantity quantities for the landing slab can be taken together with the script. So this is the note that I would like everyone to highlight. Okay, only the script for the landing slab you can take quantity for carpeting. The rest for the riser and thread do not take quantity. Okay, let's see how the method of the construction is. This is the traditional way on how the carpet is being installed. You can see here the first layer we have the screeded bed. The second layer we have carpet underlay. For those who did not know carpet underlay, it looks like the rubber, and then if you stand on the carpet, sometimes you can feel the flexibility. So that is carpet underlay. You can also click in the Mr. Google to see how the design looks like. Previously in Inti, we have this carpet underlay a lot. I think the renovation was 5 to 6 years ago, but a bit cheaper part of the carpet, we don't have this carpet underlay. Okay, some part of the Inti building, you can see it is not flexible at all. It is just carpet, and then it is also not fixed with the screwed bed. It is just using the glue, or we call this one adhesive. So that is another pattern. Okay, so the first pattern, maybe you can see carpet. This is in terms of the method, yeah. So you have to check the specification. Carpet plus underlay plus underlay plus the script. So how many items you have to measure? There are 3 main items you have to measure. The second design, where you only have carpet, that is installed with adhesive. So if you have only carpet with adhesive, you only have 1 item. You don't have to measure adhesive different, carpet differently. Okay, the other design is you have the carpet without underlay, but you only have carpet and the script. Okay, so this one we don't have underlay. Why? Because sometimes the carpet fixed with the underlay together, then you don't. Then in the description, underlay is written in the description. Or else we also have the design carpet only and directly put on the screeded bed. Okay, look at the example here. Number 1. The first example is the example for the rubber underlay. With a rubber underlay is described fixed with adhesive to 200 mm riser on the floated bed. Okay, look at the term used for the script for this particular design. In terms of the application, the bed here is not is detailed as a floated. You can see that if you see the method of the application for screeded bed, floated bed, moving paving trowel, the way we apply is different because the tool is different. This is one example, and then I put here as one box. So you can see here, this is one group of underlay. Okay, look at the second one. Okay, the second one I group in different category. 25 mm thick cement and sand floated bed, 2 riser. The second one also 2 tray. So in terms of the unit, please take note that this one is This is same as the script, so the unit remain unchanged is in meter. The rubber underlay is meter square. Okay, the last category here, nylon turf loop. Okay, this one, nylon turf loop pile carpet, 2 color and pattern, blah blah blah, on rubber underlay. Okay, 200mm riser. You still have to write down the riser because that one is the general rule under S.5. But the unit of measurement for the last category is different. Means the unit is meter square. Okay, so what can be taken into consideration here? The most issue that I would like to highlight is the last item must be measured in meter square. Okay, please take note on this one. Okay, let's move to the discussion. If you are given the task to measure the item that is measured, that is made from the fitted carpeting, so what should be the item that you have to measure? Remember, for the carpet, we normally only have 3 main categories. We have either riser, we have the tread, and we also have the landing slab. The rest component normally is just plaster and painting. So what I would like to highlight here is, please take note that you have to put in these 3 items under each of this category. Can you see that? So the first one, for example, underlay to riser, underlay to tread, underlay to landing. Cement and sand screeded or floated bed to tread, riser and landing. Tread, riser and landing for each. That means once you have fitted carpeting, you have to consider these 3 items for each category, provided that you check the method of construction. Either they are underlay or whether they are not having underlay in the detail. Is it okay, Chen Yishuan? Chen Yishuan, okay? Okay or not? Fu Junsheng? Okay, next one. We move to curb and skirting. They are basically a few designs available in the market. Okay, in the market and also in the construction drawing. Look at the first one. The first one, you can see that the skirting is here. Look at this. Look at my hand. This is really flat, but this one doesn't have skirting. Look at on the second part. The second part have the racking and vertical. The racking skirting is referring to the horizontal. This is racking skirting. This is vertical skirting. Okay, if I draw again in a cross section, something like this. Okay, you can see that it is not really flat. It is not really vertical. So a bit slanting. There is racking skirting. Look at this design. This is also considered as special design. This is curve skirting. And then here is where you have vertical. This is vertical. This is racking. Sorry, this is racking because this is slanting. So I write again this one. This is racking, where you can see attached with the riser, and then vertical is attached with the vertical. Is attached with your tread. You can check this one. Is this one also available in your drawing? Okay, in your drawing, you can see that they are skirting around the landing slab. Okay, and then you also can see that they are skirting that is made from terrazzo in your vertical and horizontal design of your staircase. Okay, look at the example. For the curb and skirting, we can refer to S.8. You can take note S.8, not 2.8, S.8. So S.8 referring to your SMM, you can see that unit of measurement is in meter. Okay, for example, look at the first one, 20 mm thick cement and sand floated bed to receive vertical skirting 100 mm height. The rule as stated in S.8 is the height must be stated. Height must be stated. Okay, how you want to measure? The unit is in meter. Let's say you are measuring the vertical skirting. Okay, if you take the vertical skirting, you can take the length of the tread times with numbers of the tread, and then you have to check if the tread, if the skirting is available at your landing slab, then you have to find the perimeter of your landing slab. Okay, if not, then only measure the length of the thread times numbers of the thread available. This skirting is normally attached with the brick wall. If we don't have brick wall, definitely there will be no skirting. If you have one side brick wall, then you have the skirting. Okay, look at this. There is no skirting at this side because this is open space. Okay, look at the second one, the example, detour to receive aluminium strip. I give you for example because there are also example where skirting is made from aluminium strip, and then another example where the height is different, and then it is installed at the landing slab. We have the racking skirting on the step. This is available at the riser. So how if it is available at the riser, or how it is available in your drawing? So you have to take the length of the riser, say for example 200 mm times maybe 20 numbers of riser. That will be the answer for your racking skirting on step, okay, at the step area. So this is basic formula. Make sure you have the information of the step and the riser. Step means you have the length for the riser, you have the length for the thread. That will be easier for you to measure later on. Okay, then next one, this is for the discussion, how the measurement of these different type of skirting are made. This is what I did mention just now. If you only have the stair skirting that is really flat, you only have to measure in meter by scale. You can either scale or you can measure one by one using hypotenuse if there are detailed information on that. Okay, but if you are referring to this design, this is a bit different. If the drawing allow you to scale, then you have to scale. This is the line where you have to scale, then times with how many numbers. Can you see? This area doesn't have any skirting, but this area have the skirting because this area is attached with the brick wall. Can you see on your right hand side here, this detail? The timber skirting is available at the landing area. So this is part of the vertical skirting. Remember, these finishes also required to have script unless you use the aluminium strip. Aluminium strip normally just having the adhesive or the glue at the back. Okay, if not like terrazzo, tile skirting, ceramic tiles, marble, everything must have the backs at the back. So you should have at least one item. If there is skirting, if it is not available in the notes, you have to check in the detailed drawing. You have to check in the drawing. In fact, your drawing have the detail for the skirting. So you can either check the drawing or either you can check the specification. Okay, coverage. If you didn't see in the detail, in the specification, please check your drawing. Okay, here you can see the drawing clearly. Look at the label in the drawing as well. Okay, the last part here, the detail for the painting. This is what I highlighted before, but this one I highlighted again, the clauses for the category. Okay, and here I would like to highlight again in terms of the material. This is also to recap oil-based paint, water-based paint. Water-based paint normally for the plastering internally. Oil-based paint is normally for wood. Okay, I look at the example, prepare and apply 1 coat of alkali resisting primer, 2 coat of emulsion paint, and to the plastered surface of sulfate of landing slab. These box are actually having the same category. Sulfate of landing slab, sulfate of landing beam, open string, staircase area, edges of the staircase area, and so on. So this is normally water-based. Okay, water-based. The layer or how many coats, that one I think had been highlighted in the construction technology class. You need to know that they are primer, they are 2 finishing coats. So basically, they are 3 coats. If you are the QS working in the contractor, this is something that you have to check whether the worker really apply 3 coats or 3 layer. Okay. And then here, if I give you one exercise, do the thinking. This one, is required to be painted or not? Yes, but this is required to be painted. You have to measure separately as the curve area. Okay, this one must be clearly stated. This is for the spiral staircase. And then if you look at this is the area that you have to paint. Okay, this is the area that you have to paint. And I also highlighted again the example where you have the finishes that is made from timber. Okay, the finishes that is made from timber, you can go through, for those who cannot remember, you can go through the example and read through all of these so that you can take note that the timber also required actual specification, either varnishing, either oil base, or either aluminum base, oil base. There are few examples. So varnishing or not, that one must be clearly stated in the description. This is the example. Sorry, let me highlight again. This is the example. Not prime and stop. This is like 3 layers of the painting, aluminum wood primer, and 2 paint coats of arcade base painting to the riser, tray, and slab. I highlighted this one only for the finishes, that is made from timber. So what kind of timber? Can be hardwood flooring, can be the can be hardwood flooring, can be for the parquet. Okay, sometimes they use sometimes they use melamine that required the final finishes. So originally this is your timber, and then you need to put 1 layer of varnish. If only 1 layer, then you put 1 layer. If no information, you can assume that everything is in 3 layers. Okay, so that would be the end of the staircase measurement for staircase finishes measurement at the moment. Okay, the last part for today is the measurement for the handrailing and balustrading. So under measurement for handrailing and balustrading, before we move to further detail, I would like everyone to take note on the information of the terminology. Okay, you need to know that this is the baluster. There are few material that can be made from the baluster. Okay, baluster is referring to one vertical component below the handrail, and then the term balustrade. Also, the term balustrade is actually a series of baluster. Series of baluster, we call this one as balustrade. And then under SMM, the word balustrade must be clearly explained as horizontal or vertical balustrade. For example, you can see here the entrance of your balustrade, normally known as the newel post. So this one is clearly stated as newel post. This is the intermediate vertical baluster, and then this is the bottom railing or bottom baluster. Some people put this one as bottom rail, some people put this one as bottom baluster. Okay, top rail here is referring to handrail. So handrail in SMM, you have to measure separately. If you look at this, one, this is the example where you can see the balustrade are actually similar. So you don't have any isolated, you don't have you don't see the different. Everything is similar. But this one, this is smaller. Okay. Next one, in terms of the word newel, this is what I did mention at the entrance. Normally you can see the column at the entrance of the staircase in the bigger sizes. Okay, when they have bigger size, that is known as newel. Vertical post at the end and at the entrance of the string, or at the end or the entrance of the staircase itself, to support the inclined handrail at the each end. At the each end means at the each entrance, either here or either the last part. Okay, so that is newel post that you have to measure separately as well. We have to check the material as well, yeah. And then for the term handrail, there are basically 2 different designs. You can see, look at my hand here. This is the handrail that is attached with the balustrade. This is the handrail that is attached with the handrail bracket. This is known as handrail bracket. This is handrail bracket attached to the brick wall. Okay, And this is the design where you don't see any handrail bracket because the handrail is only at the one side. Where you have the staircase that is covered with both sides covered with the brick wall, normally one side must be installed with the handrail, where this handrail is installed with the handrail bracket. Okay, if you have this kind of design, normally we don't have any balustrade. That it is actually not required to have the balustrade. At least this one can be the design to refrain people from falling down and actually to give the stability of the staircase as well. Okay, so there are basically three main design. You can see there are various of the design, especially when they are spiral, curvature design and so on. So the support is more. And then I also would like to highlight here the term isolated baluster. You will see the word isolated baluster where the baluster is different from others, and then the way they install is normally directly on the floor here, either on the floor or directly in the concrete staircase, where the material is made maybe from timber or maybe from steel. You need to have the base plate. This is known as plate, P-L-A-T. The word plate is actually steel plate, either in rectangular or either in square. Okay, that is where you need to screw down inside the staircase area or inside the slab area. Look at this, you have to screw down. This information is not going to be measured separately, but need to be stated. How the baluster is being installed required to be stated in the description. Okay, you can go through all this terminology as the recap. So now we look at the clause and the rule of measurement. Sorry. Okay, if you look at the rule of measurement, sorry, let me lock. If you look at the rule of measurement, there are basically two main items that I would like to highlight here. The first one under section P. What is section P? Revan, can you check section P? What is section P? Jasper, what is section P? And Chia Chanyan, can you check what is section M? What is the difference? Section P is what? What is section P? Chia Chanyan? Fu Junsheng, what is section P? PPP. Section P is metal work. So metal is a big family. Under metal, we can see that there are maybe steel, you can see maybe brass, stainless steel, and so on. So generally under section P, you can refer for the metal handrailing and balustrading. The detail you have to state later. Okay, under section M, this is focused on the woodwork, that is timber. So basically, before you start, you have to identify whether your handrail is made from metal or timber. Or maybe we have the combination of A and B. This is what available in your studio drawing. You have the combination of A and B, or this is A, this is B. Why? Because your drawing have timber handrailing, but the balustrade are all made from metal or steel. Okay, this is the information that you can zoom in. 40 times 40 mm times 4. 4 is the thickness of mild steel section. So mild steel is under section P. Okay, and then for the timber, this is the cross section. The cross section is given as 80 times 150. So the design is like this. This is 80 mm. The vertical is 150 mm. Okay. What I would like you to take note here as well is not only because of material, because you have to measure the painting as well. That means once we have different material for the steel required different kind of painting. Handrail or timber required different kind of painting. So that one must be clearly shown, must be clearly identified. Look at the example for timber handrailing. If you have timber handrailing, you have to measure in meter according to M.13.1G. Look at the word handrail. This is actually the last subclause. G is the last subclause. You have to read the specification. Okay, Cengal is grade A timber in Malaysia. Okay, like oak in international oak also has their own category. Okay, that is also one of the famous timber. So you can put this one as the main heading because this is the general kind and quality. You refer back to section M. In general, we have to write kind and quality and the size. So the cross section must be written. This is only example 50 by 100 mm handrail. Okay, the word rounded top edge. The word rounded means the design is like this. This is rounded. Okay, so if the design is not having the rounded top edge, do not write down. I have the student like in the previous semester, they copy this description but they didn't check the detail. If your detail doesn't have the rounded top edge, then you don't have to write down. Just write down 50 to 100 mm handrail. Okay, groove at the bottom to receive mastic couplet. What is the couplet? Okay, the couplet is only available where you have, let's say this is your handrail, and then the couplet is required where you have different material. Okay, and you have to put the hole so that the steel can be installed directly below this. Okay, the multi-couplet is available only when the steel or different material used as at the bottom of your timber structure or timber connection. How to measure? You can measure the length of the handrail in the layout plan, plus from the layout plan and also from the section. So if you refer to this one, you can take the dimension from the cross section. This one, you can scale and then total up. Don't forget at the 200 here. This is also having the handrail. This one also having the handrail. Look at this. This is at the first floor slab. That is also having the length of the handrail. Okay. This one, you must ensure that you have to measure in slope. You cannot measure on plan. If you measure on plan, the length is wrong. So that is how you measure the handrail. Okay, the second example is the example where the material is made from metal. This is where you have to refer to section P. I give you example here, ABC stainless steel. Always remember, you have to understand the material. Okay, stainless steel does not require to have any painting. Stainless steel is something like shiny. I have also experienced last semester, I give the specification stainless steel. Then when I ask my student to measure, they measure painting. So no item for painting if you use a material that is made from stainless steel. Okay, what needs to be stated? This one, you can refer to P.5. You can refer to P.5. Okay. Under P.5, the information state that you have to write down the size, the cross section, the thickness. So this is the detail that you actually can copy. For example, 100 mm diameter. In the steel structure, you can always see this design. You can always see this symbol. CHS. What is CHS? Circular hollow section. SHS. Square hollow section. RHS, rectangular hollow section. So this one is the short form that the student need to know. The QS actually need to know. Okay, the short form for the terminology. Okay, and then the other part, most important, is how to install, either by welding or either by couplet or either by inserting. That is the method of construction. Okay, so look at this example, woodwork, how to write down the description, how to install welded with 80 mm diameter isolated baluster. This is the example if your handrail is made from stainless steel and then vertically you have the baluster. Okay, and then if you have another method, then you have to write down how the handrail is being welded, either connected with the horizontal baluster or maybe connected with the vertical baluster. and so on. The word MS is referring to the measured separately, where you cannot measure this one together, even though you put here welded to isolated baluster, but this isolated baluster must be measured separately. The key point under section P is every single item must be measured separately. For example, if we have vertical baluster, if we have horizontal baluster, all of that must be measured separately. Vertical, horizontal must be measured separately in meter. So you only have to scale. This is the example on the other design, handrail. Yes, Shawei, any question? This is another design that you can see in another drawing. Okay, I also give you one more example for the description for the mastico plate. Okay, mastico plate, remember, only available where you have the different material underneath. For example, this is the handrail that is made from timber, but your balustrade are made from metal. So you need to have the mastico plate. This is under P.5 as well. Okay, as what I did mention just now for the metal handrailing description, how to install, what is the size. This is another size, 75 times 38. You have a lot of sizes different. You have to check the detail. Okay, this is what I did mention. Measure the length from the layout plan plus the slope length, and then you have to check if there are handrail available at the first floor area. Okay, I also give you some overview on how the design of the CHS looks like. SHS, or maybe you can see variety design here. Okay, this is RHS, hollow section, normally used for the architectural purposes. And then you can see here example for the mastiff bracket, if only the handrail is fixed to the wall. If not, you don't have to. Okay, isolated baluster, this is under P.5.6. This is a bit longer because you have to measure in number. How you identify the isolated baluster? Isolated baluster is different from vertical baluster. Okay, something that is different from others that is normally installed directly to the concrete staircase. You can see the example here, the size, and then how the installation is. One end, look at this. One end is welded to the handrail, another end is welded to the base plate. So this is the base plate, this is the connection to the handrail. Okay, this is another example of the description, just to highlight the term base plate underneath, the installation method, and then this is the next item where you finish all the isolated baluster, vertical baluster, you have to measure for painting. How you want to measure the painting? You have to check on the girth for the surfaces. Less than 300 mm, measure in meter. More than 300 mm, you have to measure in meter square. Okay, this is also to recap the type of this painting for the handrailing and balustrading. You can check some of the brand available, oil base, enamel base, emulsion paint, and so on, and look at which one is suitable with the material used. Then you can see the example. I give you one example here for the painting to handrail that is using aluminium wood primer and alkyd based resin. Please go back to your example of the painting that you have. Then you can put that one is part of your in your specification. This is another example, but this is metallic primer. This metallic primer, in case the handrail is made from metal, so you can use this one as a guideline. If you have any metal handrailing or metal balustrading, use this one as a guideline of your description. How to measure? You can take the quantity from handrail. Okay, if the unit is similar, then you can take quantity. If not, you have to take the length times the girth. Okay, if the girth is more than 300 mm, you have to measure times the girth. Okay, this is another example, and this is what you can see in your construction drawing. Okay, So this one will be covered in your studio number 3 next time. So that will be the end of the discussion for handrail and balustrade threading. Second part of our discussion for today.